Good evening, everybody, to the fifth and final instalment at the Interlagos circuit, the Autodromo José Carlos Pache at Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is our no assist X-Treme race. It's the fifth race of 5 here to round off the race week. I'm your lead comms bit W365. My co-com will be around shortly, and from what I can see, it's very, very overcast and a little bit hazy looking at that pit lane for this X-Treme tier race, as there is movement down at the bottom end of the pit lane. That's a Williams heading out first, followed by one of the Hasses. We will get to them very, very shortly. While I just sort things out on screen. So we'll find the first car out, which is Chris. And I think that's Peninza just behind him. So the Haas ahead of the Williams to get this qualifying session underway. Chris currently out on the medium tyres. There's a little bit of sunshine showing through. Not much, but there's a little bit. So hopefully for this qualifying session, it will be nice and dry for all 20 drivers on the track. So we'll go on board with Mr. Bailey for a lap of this 2.677 mile circuit as DRS open on the run down to turn 1. Braking around about the 50 metres. Gently through the centre S's of turns 1, 2 and 3. And then it'll be DRS open on the exit of the turn 3, and then it's the run down to turn 4, or as a lot of us had labelled in MRC, Hodges Corner from many seasons ago. Then into turn 5 as well. Then it's slightly uphill towards 6 and 7. Half throttle through there, then braking for 8, and then rolling the car through 9 as well. And then we enter into turn 10. Bit of traffic further up the track, but hopefully it don't hamper Chris as he comes through the final few corners up to turn 12. He's going to get a little bit of a tow from a Ferrari just ahead of him. DRS will be open to finish this lap. Getting a good distant tow from the Ferrari, and Chris taking as short a run as possible, but sets at 8.087 to get this qualifying underway. Good banker lap on the medium tyres for Chris Bailey. Peninza about 8 to 9 tenths off that with an 8.9. So decent 2 laps by the first 2 out on track. Let's try and find somebody else. His red car has just gone P3 with a 9.095. And Baby Hornet puts the McLaren second on his first run with an 8.485. Some very good banker laps from those 4, as G-Star puts his Mercedes into P4 with a 9.027. And then B17 puts his Red Bull into 6th, and then Error Voice over the line as well, P4. And Close, P3, one of our newest members in the league. He raced it Tier 2 earlier in the week and had a decent showing for his first race. And now he's racing X-Treme as well, this time in the Aston Martin. Smith, the championship leader, puts his Ferrari in P8 at the moment. He currently comes into this race with a 27-point lead over Saviour. As we jump to Quimo as he's starting the lap in the Kick Sauber. Coming through the first 3 corners. As Jules goes to the top of the timing pages with a 7.9. Putting the V-carb ahead of Chris's pass. We'll see how Quimo can do on his lap. Looks nice and planted up the hill. Key part of the track, this middle part. You want the car set up more for this middle part of the lap than the first and third sectors, because you gain most of it through the middle sector. As he comes up the hill, a little bit of a lock up, riding the curves a little bit as well, but keeps the car pointing in the right direction, and now it's going to be just flat to the floor. DRS wide open as he comes to finish his first lap, keeping the run short, and goes into P11 with a 10.034 for a banker lap for Quimo. As we see Bobo now on his first attempt. But I think we'll jump up to Scottish Ninja, who's just ahead of him in the McLaren. The beautiful black and papaya. Currently setting a bank lap on a set of mediums, but drops it. So hopefully he's got enough fuel to go again, and that is Bobo going past, so we'll jump to him as he comes to the end of his lap. And he's decided to back out of it, so we'll jump to Armar in the V-carb on his first run. Bit of a lock up through 4. Gathered it up nicely though. Nice and tidy through the middle part of the lap so far. On the soft tyres, so looking to get a decent lap in on the quicker tyre to start with. As he comes flat out towards the line. DRS now wide open, taking the shortest run possible. And puts his V-carb into 5th with an 8.6. Good banker lap for Armar. As we have a Williams round in the middle of turn 2. Let's jump to Soze, or aka MRC X-Treme's Max, as he comes to end his first flying lap. As Chris Bailey improves to a 7.5 to take provisional pole, and Soze slots it into P6. And then Saviour takes pole position away from Chris by a small margin with a 7.512. So Saviour currently second in the Drivers' Championship behind Smith, currently on provisional pole in that Sauber. As we look at one of the Alpines of Rassam, who's just invalidated. So we'll jump to the other Alpine of Lorpy, who's currently sitting 3rd. Level points with Saviour coming into this one. So that top 3 in the Drivers' Championship, 27 points between them, as Lorpy goes P12 on his first run. Only 27 points separating a Tier 3, Tier 1 and Tier 2 drivers in the Drivers' Championship. As we'll follow Bobo. And looking at that little message down at the bottom of the screen, my Ocon will be here very shortly. As Bobo up the hill, keeps it nicely within track limits. Wants to get as high up as possible, round about near where the other Mercedes is, around 6th, as I think that was Ant going up into P4 in the Ferrari. It's a big roar from the Tifosi for that one. As Bobo's coming now to the end of the lap, he's going to take it as short as possible, scrubbing off as much time, and he goes third. Third for Bobo. It's a tier 1 top 3 in qualifying at the moment. Well, a tier 1 top 5 with Red Car in 6th, the highest tier 2 driver at this moment. Drop down to the bottom end of the running order as we find B17 in the second Red Bull, as he's on his what could only be second attempt. 2 tenths down in the first sector. My guess is he'll probably decide to back out, save and go again. Not that many cars out on track. Very spread out as B17 drops it up the hill. He's got plenty of time now to get another stab in. As we'll jump to G-Star as he's coming through the same bit of track that B17 was coming through. Currently P8 on an 8.5. So he'll be looking to improve back up into that top 6. As he's a 10th up, runs a little bit wide, but because he's lifted off, looks to be the game has allowed it, but I don't think, yeah, he's backed out of it because he would have lost that 10th that he was up on. Jackster going fire in the YouTube chat. Let's drop down to Rassam as he's looking to get his time on the board. DRS open on the Alpine, taking the shortest run to the line and puts it P11, so an 8.817. Good lap from Rassam. About 2 tenths off the top 10, but still a decent lap. Got 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in qualifying. I noticed that Xavier was on a lap where he's decided to come into the pits. Let's find Soze, who's in 10th place, as he's coming in the middle sector up the hill. Half throttle through there. Car off track, staying out the way. Soze currently sits inside the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, 95 points behind Championship leader Smith, but only 12 points behind his nearest contender in the Championship, which is Jules in P9. So they've got a nice little battle going off for the bottom of the top 10 in the Championship as Soze comes to the line to have another go. He backed out, so he's going again. Currently holds that spot in the top 10, but we'll jump to provisional second place Chris Bailey as he's coming to the end of the lap. His foot's going to be absolutely planted towards the line. Shortest run, 6 thousandths off his best time, so he stays in second. So he still shares that front row with Saviour. Let's check up on Lorpy. One of the 3 front runners in the championship. Wanting to keep that run going. And here's my co-com right now. It's Mr. Mark Hodgson. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Sorry for the delay, but glad I can come and join you.
Never too late.
So what have we got here? Just trying to catch up. So end of qualifying. Good lap time that from Saviour with Chris right behind him.
Yeah, and Bobo's not too far behind as well. We've just had Rassam DNF from qualifying. Micromash got disqualified, so he's starting right at the back.
So that's going to be an interesting one to see. Micromash and Rassam was looking good the other night, and so I think that's going to be a good one to see, especially Micromash come through the field and push on. And of course, we don't know the weather just yet, so
no, it would be nice to know what to expect possibly going into the race. Just a bit of a heads up.
Yep, so if you're around, folks, please do tell us. If anyone's watching, don't forget to like and join us. So, Anne's in the chat, so is Bart.
Yeah, Jackster going a bit haywire. I don't blame him after a solid second place in Tier 3 before we went with X-Treme. Solid result for Jackster in Tier 3.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So, who's on a lap? CH Bell on his.
Chris is just coming to finish off his and goes quicker. 7.4 to take pole provisionally with 26 seconds left on the clock.
Yep, so the people coming up the start finish straight will be the last ones, I think, to start their lap. If they've got enough fuel in the tank. Saviour in the middle sector. I'll keep my eye on him.
Yeah, we've got him on the stream at the moment. All eyes are on him at this moment in time. The closest challenger to Chris. Bobo's in the pits. He's not going to get another lap in.
Saviour's down by
2 tenths down, yeah. It's looking very good for Chris Bailey at this moment.
It is. Saviour's not going to give it up, though, up the hill. He's bailed. He has. What about Jules?
Jules was slightly down out the first sector.
Yep. But he's got to find a good half a second to challenge Chris in that front row. What about Ant? Where's Ant? He's going to the end of the second sector.
He's level. He's just the Ferrari on a fast lap, just gone past Smith.
Jules only slightly up, and his time less than a tenth. A lot of battery left. He can use all the way up the hill, and it's a long drag.
And stays P5. He was 10th down.
What can Jules do? He does improve, and he goes into fourth. Well, stays fourth. Sorry. I think there's just
and that round, Scottish Ninja's gone into the pit. So that's qualifying. So Chris Bailey right at the depth with 26 seconds left on the clock. Takes pole position at Interlagos, but is, I'd say, main rival for many seasons. Shares that front row with him. I mean, everyone knows that that photo finish many seasons ago where Saviour was just managed to hold him off. Mind you, Saviour did the same thing in Tier 1 earlier in the week, just fending off, I think it was Ben, by the smallest of margins as well.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He really did. He was. That was a fantastic bit of racing, that in Tier 1. Unfortunately, it didn't go according to my plan.
No,
because I had to bin it in the damp conditions.
Not much you could do when you got a damaged rear wing, especially at a track like this. So Chris takes pole position with Saviour on the front row alongside him. Bobo will be starting third, Jules fourth, Ant fifth, Armar sixth, Redcar seventh, G-Star eighth, Soze ninth. Baby Hornet rounds out the top half of the grid in 10th. Then the bottom half is Peninza, Lorpe, Rassam, Clow in 14th, Erevoice 15th, Smith 16th, B17 in 17th. Couldn't to get that any better. Scottish Ninja, I think, 18th, and we'll go up right down the bottom two on the formation lap. But you mentioned the damp conditions from Tier 1. We have had a bit of rain this week in Brazil. We had a little sprinkling at the end of qualifying in Tier 2, and obviously the rain at the start of Tier 1, which seemed to have dried up round about halfway, so we had a bit of a half and half in Tier 1. Tier 2 was a bone dry race. Tier 3 was bone dry for both qualifying and the race. And it looks the same at the moment for X-Treme as well. We're in the 5-minute break between qualifying and race to allow drivers to have their drink, toilet break, plan, strategy, and also think about if they're going to overfuel or underfuel. I think most people are probably going to underfuel if you're good on fuel, that is. I tend to always overfuel because I can't save fuel no matter how hard I try.
Yeah, I was that. I used to, on games gone by, I used to underfuel by probably half a lap or so. Some tracks a lap under, and now I was winning here, coming out up the hill and ran out of fuel. I finished third or fourth. I think Stube took the win that day. So since that time, I have never underfueled, to be perfectly honest. I learnt my lesson the hard way, and since then it's just been, no, I am going to put plenty of fuel in.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a happy memory in Brazil because if I discount losing my win in Portugal, I think it was 2 seasons ago now, due to a penalty for an unsafe safety car restart, which is 100% on me. Brazil was where I got my last ever win when I was in my last season in Tier 3 before I got promoted to Tier 2. Oh. So, happy memories back here. Sadly, Monday didn't go that well. You should know because you was on comms for that one, because I dropped it out of turn 1.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, crikey.
Yeah, dropped it out of turn 1 on the hard tyres. Uncharacteristic of me. And I think the biggest mistake I regretted was doing a two-lap banker on mediums in qualifying. I wish I never done that to at least... Because you at least want to save a set of mediums with no tyre wear on them, especially at a track like Brazil where they could come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the strategy is so important in here. So, you know, the chances of safety cars are quite high around here. So it's one of those that do you go long and chance it? Do you save the mediums, or do you do a 2-stop or potential 2-stop? What do you save? What do you go when? And the tyre wear can be quite even around here. But yeah, as you say, the strategies are so up in the air.
Good evening, Bobo in the YouTube chat. Good qualifying for yourself. Yeah, I was before you was in, Mark. I was mentioning the drivers' championship as it stands coming into this 9th round. Smith currently leads it, but he's only 27 points ahead of both Xavier and Lorpe. So the top 3 are all different tier drivers. You've got Smith, Tier 3, leading it, but only 27 points behind. You've got Tier 1 Xavier and Tier 2 Lorpe. So it just shows you how every person has got a chance in this championship with how the point system works.
Yeah, they do, definitely. Yeah, it's open to all the tiers, and it just gives that extra bit of fight, doesn't it?
Yeah, because a lot of the gaps are quite close together, because Ant in P4 is only 10 points off of Lorpe, and then you got Armar, who's level on 114 with Ant in 5th. The only, and then Bobo, 6th on 99 points, only 15 points off of Armar. Then it's only 2 points to B17 in 7th. So all the gaps between drivers in the championship are no more than well, less than about 20 points, apart from that one at the top between Smith, Saviour and Lorpe, which is 27. But apart from that, a lot of the gaps are relatively close, so people are going to be jumping up and down the championship as we go along because of how the point system works.
Yeah, exactly. It's so close, isn't it? And people can really jump up and down the order. And still got a few races left this season. I think about 4 rounds after this one.
We've got we've got Kota to rerun because that got cancelled due to lack of numbers 2 weeks ago. We've got Vegas before the Christmas break, and then we've got Qatar and Abu Dhabi after the Christmas and New Year break. So technically, if you count this one as well, there is 4 rounds still in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so yeah, it's all to play for, and it should, in theory, come down to the final race. A good mix of tyres on the grid here.
Yeah, let's
mediums for a number, and a lot of split with the hards as well.
Yeah, you got it's quite as you are with the top 5 because it goes medium hard, as you say, mixed variety, and then you got Scottish Ninja trying to go a bit aggressive on the start, being down in 18th on those soft tyres. Will be looking to make as much ground as possible. The 2 that I didn't get to announce on the grid is Quimo in 19th and Micromash obviously starting 20th after getting disqualified during qualifying.
Yeah, so we're going to see what they can do, especially Micromash. But there's a few drivers I think a little bit out of position. Good qualifying from Soze, I must say, and Baby Hornet, so they're going to look to do well. I think Smith a little bit further down than where he would want to be ideally, and C8 on the other day showed some good pace as well, obviously new to the league, so see what he can do on the hard tyres, and Ever Boys as well. I think this is quite a mixed one.
Yeah, as Chris trying to get as much temperature in the medium tyres as everyone's coming in to get the grid slots. Luckily, Ghosting's on during formation lap because we had a bit of a moment there with Chris trying to get tyres, and then a Ferrari comes barreling through as Rassam's missed his grid slot, so his car's been set back by a couple metres. There's a lovely positioned Williams I can see, angled slightly to the right. As we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And it's underway in MRC X-Treme here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it looks like Chris is going to get a nice clean start and hold the lead through turn 1. Bobo looking to hang it right, yep, which becomes the inside for 2. That's Bobo up into second. We'll have a look at get the positions up as we go through this opening lap. But Chris holds the lead with Saviour second, Bobo third, Ant up to 4th, Jules down to 5th, G-Stars up 2 places. As Saviour's just lost out to Bobo again, so Bobo back up to second, but the side-by-side coming up the hill. Saviour will have the inside and Bobo will try and hang it round the outside. And does so Bobo holds on to that second place, but Saviour's still on that inside. But Bobo still holds position, but now Ant's looking to pressure Saviour for P3. And this is only the first lap of the race.
Scottish Ninja up to 12 on the soft tyres, had a fantastic start. Ryan had a really poor one, don't know if he got pushed out.
Yeah, Scottish Ninja up 6 places from where he started. Biggest winner at the moment. Micromash up 5. But as you say, Red Car down in 20th. 13 places down, and C8 as well down 5 places. So a lot of positions gained up and down by many on the opening lap.
Yeah, everyone's still very, very close, aren't they? Apart from CA2 at the moment and Red Car as well. So everyone within the DRS, actually all get now on that run down to turn 4.
Yeah, also known as Hodges Corner, if I'm not mistaken. I did mention that on an onboard lap with Chris, so apologies on that one, Mark. To most of us, I think it'll always be Hodges' corner.
Yeah.
But Bobo looking to put Chris under a lot of pressure coming to the end of lap 2. It's very difficult. Oh, back end wanted to come out under braking, so he's going to come under pressure from Saviour. Saviour on the inside, swoops through on the inside. Both of them are going to have DRS. No, Bobo didn't, because he was just outside the second of Chris. So Saviour up into second place. And now Ant going to have a little look. No, stays out. Micromash 10.6, fastest lap at this stage. It's only lap 3. As we've got plenty more position changes in the middle of the pack. I think that's Rassam tumbling down the order. I think he's had a moment. But Chris holding firm in the lead on lap 3. I would say it's very difficult to break DRS around Brazil because the cars all bunch up in the middle sector. And even if you break that gap down to turn 1, the gap soon shrinks again as the detection point is in the middle of turn 2. So it's very difficult to break away round Brazil because of the short track as well, a bit like Austria.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? You just need that grip all the way through, don't you?
Yeah, Saviour's got DRS on Chris, but he's 5 tenths back, so I don't think he's going to be able to make any move into turn 1, but he'll be setting it up to have a look into 4. I think a lot of people, if they don't make the move into turn 1, they use it as a setup for 4. DRS open again.
But, you still need to have that good through the centre S. You still got to be strong through there, because otherwise, you could lose that momentum all the way through there and hamper your chances massively.
Yeah, and all Saviour can do now through the middle part of this lap is pretty much just follow Chris and look to have a stab towards turn 1. Few trains forming. We've got the top 6 in a train of their own, and then Armagh just out of a second of G-Star has got a Baby Hornet and Law P keeping in country. Micromash P10 now after starting P20th on lap 4, so he's making plenty of ground from his starting place, and we know the pace that he's got, especially with what he's been showing in Tier 1. Again, Chris able to hold off Saviour into turn 1, but what kind of exit can Saviour get out of 3? But he's also having to watch his rear as well, because Bobo is really close to the Salbot. Bobo had a little look, but darted back in again, thought better of it. Saviour a little bit wide on exit, which has left Bobo to
the white line.
Super close. Bobo just keeping it within the white line on the exit there, but it's these 3 fighting is allowing Chris to have that little bit of a breather through the middle sector, because he's like, he can just see them behind, but Saviour will still have DRS yet again. We have a yellow flag. That is Quimo in the Salbot. But Saviour will have another look, but he's too far back this time. He's 8 tenths off of Chris because of Bobo having a little look at him, as Ant's having a look on Bobo just a bit back a shot. But these 4 have dropped Jules now. Jules has just dropped outside of DRS from these 4. Still anyone
easy to run wide through 4 as well, so that's, I think, where we may see potential penalties.
Yeah, exit of turn 4's a big culprit, and I would say out of turn 7 as well, because you half throttle through that corner. Exit of turn 7, you drift that car slightly wide there, and you can pick up a warning through there, and even slightly overcut in turn 2 as well. There's a warning you can easily get. So there's plenty of places around this circuit that you can get track limit warnings, and they will play a factor because of how close everyone tends to be around here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen a few. Armour just got back into DRS. I think Baby Horn's going to try and have a look into turn 1. Armour's gone defensive. Baby Horn's gone to the outside. I think he's made the move just about, but there's the detection through the middle of turn 2. And Armour, is he going to have the grip and the run to have a go back? Baby Horn's gone very defensive early on. Just keep it.
Yeah, Lorpy's there as well. Armour and Lorpy, tier 2 drivers, so they're crucial in the battle for the lead of tier 2. So they'll be more focused on each other than probably Baby Hornet, but obviously people will want to get high up as possible on track just for the bragging rights.
Absolutely.
I think that's somebody round. That's B17 round. He's missing
Ninja having a few
both end
problems.
plates.
He dropped back.
B17's missing both end plates on that Red Bull.
Ooh,
So he'll be into the
Scottish
pits.
Ninja. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to Scottish Ninja. He's now dropped right down. I don't know if the tyres have got... Yeah, tyres have got... I think he's got rear wing damage, because he should not have lost the rear at that point. Through the middle of the lap there. I'll see how he goes on into this corner, and if he has completely lost...
Baby Hornet, 3 seconds. That was through turns 2 and 3, I think, for Baby Hornet, because that was way before turn 4.
Yeah, I think Scottish Ninja's got rear wing damage, to be honest with you. I think the way that the rear of that car was moving around and he is in the pits, I'm sure that'll be a retirement for him, which is a shame. He started off really... Wow, he hit the brakes. He actually hit the brakes in the pit lane, and the car went round on him.
Ouch.
Wow.
You know what it's like to have rear wing damage, because you had that on Monday, so you know how it feels. The Scottish Ninja parks the car in the pit lane, calls it a night due to the rear wing damage. But we're looking at this battle for the top 4, still at it. Chris doing all he can to hold on to the lead, but Saviour going on the attack towards turn 1. Makes the move sticking to 1, but Chris will have DRS on the run down to turn 4 because he's in detection in turn 2.
Yeah, this is the point now, 8 laps in, where the hard tyres will still be quite consistent. But I tell you what, Bobo's got the better run on Chris. Bobo now on the inside.
Both giving each other racing room. Chris holds it round the outside. Jules has got 3 seconds now, so that's 2 drivers with penalties. But Chris holding on to that second place, managing to keep the Haas on the outside of Bobo's Mercedes. The front 4 have pretty much been inseparable at the through these opening laps.
Yeah, Bobo's done that a lot in Tier 1 as well this season. Just Ant doing what Ant does really as well. Not just being patient, just coming to the back of these guys as well.
Yeah, he's got very good patience, and he's always happy to sit at the back of trains and either save the battery or the tyres. That's the one thing they've got to be thinking though, because obviously Saviour on those hard tyres, Chris on mediums, who's made a move for the lead down towards turn 4. Bobo on the mediums as well, and I think Ant's on the hards, if I'm correct, on the start.
He is. No, Ant's on the medium, yeah, Jules on the hards, and Saviour is the one on the hard tyres.
Yeah, so the question is, what Chris, Bobo and Ant thinking? We've been on the medium tyres, as Peninza now has 3 seconds. Currently down in 16th in the Williams. But it's very difficult to pan away from this battle of the top 4 because of how close it is. Jules and G-Star About 2 seconds adrift, the pair of them, from this front four, as Quimo's got 3 seconds now. So we're getting some time penalties coming in thick and fast a little bit now. Saviour doesn't make the move into one. As they come through turn 3, DRS open. Will he have a look into 4? He goes to the right hand side of Chris, sorry. It was on the left, looking down towards turn 3. Chris holding it on the inside. Bobo looking very racy just behind. He's going to sneak through on the inside. Going to force Chris around the long way. Chris still holding the outside, which then will become the inside. All contact there, which has caused Chris to go a little bit out of shape and almost into the clutches of Ant, but no damage on the Haas as Sozi now picks up 3 seconds. So penalties coming in quite fast now that we're only 11 laps in.
Yeah, I was watching the battle with Lorpy, Hornet and Armour. Some really good fights in there.
Yeah, we'll probably have a look at that soon as Bobo makes the move into turn 1 past Saviour. So Bobo leads for the race the first time on lap 12, but Saviour will have DRS down towards turn 4. Bobo automatically going defensive as Baby Hornet gets 3 seconds. Saviour back into the lead into turn 4. So Bobo back down to P2. But despite these 4 swapping in places here and there, they're not losing that much time to Jules and G-Star behind. They're able to keep that 2 second gap to those two in 5th and 6th. But we'll drop down to Baby Hornet's little group. Baby Hornet 7th with Lorpy, Micromash and Armour. All in contingents of each other. Micromash currently sitting P9 after starting 20th. As it looks like Bobo's retaken the lead into turn 1, but we're going to be keeping an eye on as Micromash makes the move up into P8 past Lorpy. So the Aston Martin up to P8 now as Saviour has took the position back off of Bobo. So those two trading places in that first sector. Micromash not close enough to have a look at Baby Hornet into 4. But it's a great drive from Micromash in these opening stages. Hoping to gain another place. These 4 cars nearly 6 seconds adrift from G-Star's. Baby Hornet's had a moment.
Big moment.
Yeah, did he
managed to keep it out of the wall and everything? It was sort of sideways. He was drifting in the grass, but
yeah,
managed to keep it. I think the tyre it started to cloud over a lot now.
Yeah, so it has gone a bit. I think we've just seen a bit of flash of rain. I think we got rain.
I think you're right.
Yes, it's raining. Right.
Yes, we do. We do. Oh wow. So, I wonder if that's why the people chose to go on the hards. As Ella Voice is the first to dive into the pits, I'm going to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, please do. As we're looking at the battle for P7, but we'll jump to the front because it's looking very tight. You would think, though, with Saviour being on the hard tyres and the cooler track temperature at this moment, his hards would not be as well suited than the mediums, because the mediums being a slightly softer tyre, yes, they'll be coming towards the latter stages of the life. It's that tyre temperature that will give them the advantages. As Bobo, little touch on the rear of Saviour through the corner, which is allowed Chris to get close to the rear. We've got a few more pitters towards the back. Question is, who's going to jump first in these front 4? As Chris is looking one way, then the other. As I think, oh, that's looking close between Bobo and Chris.
Ant's the first one to pit.
Yep, Jules is in and G-Star as well. Top three have continued. Ant is in. He's going to be looking, as DRS is disabled, we are in wet conditions.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of people diving at the pits. We've already have now this lap. This will be perfect because that'll have been disabled and they'll have all taken, they're in the right point of the track.
Yeah, everyone will be diving in now as the front three are struggling for grip through these corners. There'll be, as Chris runs wide, the Saviour, Bobo and Chris will be trying their hardest to get back to the pits in these conditions. They're having to tiptoe round corners so they don't lose traction. Saviour's actually managed to break away from Bobo and Chris, and 20 seconds off on the intermediate tyres, but that delta's going to be dropping like a brick. As Bobo's struggling to as Bobo's dropped it, trying to tiptoe round to the pits.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big shock. But that is a very, very slippery track now. He can't even go up the hill. He really can't even get up the hill.
Yeah, he's losing time hand over fist. As we'll jump to Ant. As Bobo, I think, has clipped the wall as well. Ant's going to come flying through. And I think Ant's going to take the lead because Saviour is going through the pit exit and he's got to be careful through there because of the barriers on the left and right.
Yeah. So
it's going to be very tight on exits. Ant's coming through turn 3.
G-Star and Jules have jumped all of them for pitting that one lap earlier.
Saviour's held the lead, but no, he hasn't. He's down in fifth. Sorry, that's Quimo. Yeah. I apologise. Murray Walker moment. But yeah, Ant takes the lead with pitting earlier on. That's not done Chris or Saviour any good staying out that little bit longer. Ant pitting when he did has benefited big time. He leads. He's got 2.2 seconds to Jules, who's carrying that 3 seconds. But G-Star 2.3 behind, Chris a further 5.2 back. So the top 6, because of the swap from dry to intermediates, is very spread out. And it's completely turned this race on the head now, because everyone is having to drive a little bit more differently than in the dry conditions. A bit more gingerly on the throttle, especially getting the intermediates into working, as Micromash is looking to go around the outside of Lorpy into turn 1. Looks very tight on the way through. He's going to have the inside through 2. Makes the move.
Don't forget, start at the back of the grid as well.
That's a phenomenal showing. A Max Verstappen-esque performance so far, sadly to say.
I've got to say, don't make me sick and leave you on your own.
I just felt sick saying it, Mark. Don't worry. I made myself sick saying it. I wish I never said it now, to be honest. But it's hard to look past that performance of Max. It's just hard to look past it though in the conditions in Brazil that day. Micromash showing similar skill right now as Red Car's got 3 seconds.
Who was that was ghosted there? I think that was Panizza, who's ghosted at the back there. Not sure why. If he's
Rassam's tumbling down the order. I think he's had a moment.
Yeah, Panizza's not in the session, unfortunately. It's interesting now, after all those pit stops and the way that the top 3 pitted that bit earlier, Michael Mash and Loppy and Ahmed, actually quite a lot of them did as well, how they've come through the field and the gaps that have really formed throughout the field. The close one, Armour and Loppy, who were doing battle with Baby Hornet, unfortunately, at that moment. They were doing battle beforehand.
Yeah. Markamash ever so slightly reeling in P5 Saviour. Little by little. Sadly for the drivers, due to the wet conditions, they have to make the overtakes the old-fashioned way. No DRS available in these conditions, so it's got to be done the old way. By skill and timing. That gap from Ant to Jules is coming down a little bit. That's down to under 2 seconds, around about the 2-second buffer, but it keeps dropping. But then going back up again. There's Micro Mash. Steady as he goes through the S's in the middle part of the lap as he closes in on the Sauber of Saviour. The gap is 1.3 and dropping ever so slightly, so Micromash looking very good in these conditions at the moment.
Yeah, may have just gone with that higher downforce, knowing that the rain was going to come. Obviously didn't partake in qualifying, so he could really set his car up how he wanted and not have to worry as much. So yeah, I think he set up a lot better than pretty much everyone around him. But you know, you can't discount a few of these, like such as Ant and Jules and G-Star, who are very, very good in all conditions.
Oh, we all know about Ant's speciality in the wet conditions. I mean, he knows the inters inside and out because he uses them on a dry track.
Well, exactly. He's got plenty of practice, hasn't he? I did hear, I can't remember who it was in Tier 3, did a lap on the inters in a dry track, and he was over the moon with it, to be fair. He was quite touched by it. I can't remember who it was now.
I have no idea, but that sounds great, that does. As Saviour's going to be finding a bit of traffic now, but he's opened the gap up a little bit to Micromash. It was 1.2, he's opened it back up to 1.5. But we'll jump to Lorpian Armagh, which is the only real battle we've got at the moment, because everyone else is really spread out. But most of the drivers at this stage are trying to get the feel of these conditions. Some of them have had a bit of wet running, especially those who did Tier 1. Those in Tier 2 didn't really get much of it because we only had a light sprinkle at the end of qualifying that didn't really affect us too much. But this is crucial though, 7th and 8th, Lorpian Armagh. It is for 1st and 2nd in Tier 2. So these two are battling for maximum points.
But yeah, Saviour as well closing down. Chris has closed down to G-Star as well. So this that's going to be a good battle with Micromash as well. That fall for 3rd. That's going to turn quite interesting in the next few laps, I think, as well. So yeah, I'm just going to keep an eye on those.
Yeah, Saviour is within a second of Chris, so that's going to get tasty in a couple corners, I would expect. Chris and Saviour no shy to battles, no matter what track. They always seem to find each other on the same piece of tarmac, regardless of where they've started or the conditions. So their rivalry will resume as normal. I'm sure Chris will be wanting to finish ahead of Saviour though, to get a bit of redemption for that particular day. We're currently on lap 21 of 36. Couple back markers ahead of Chris and Saviour. We do have ghosting, but we do recommend that back markers do play by the rules and move out the way of the quicker drivers, because it can be off-putting driving through a ghosted car, especially into braking zones, as I think it would be 17 getting out of the way nice and tidy for Chris and Saviour, and he also gets out of the way of Micromash as well. Saviour getting a lovely toe down towards turn 1 from Chris, and Micromash closing that gap down as well, because with Saviour being on the back of Chris, It's now nullified the gap to Micromash, and now he's coming into play now. He's within a second of Saviour now. So those three bunching up together now. As Chris is closing in on G-Star, so it's soon going to become a four-way tussle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth. But Micromash has just dropped outside of a second again. So he's going to be looking to haul Saviour back in a little bit through this middle part of the lap. Not much change between the front two. That gap has been steady around the two second mark for many laps now. So Ant controlling the pace out front nice and calmly as we have an Aston Martin round. That is C8 on the exit of turn 3. The Aston Martin still stationary, but it's got going again.
The interesting thing I'm thinking at the moment is how long these inters will last, because they went on them about lap 13 or so. They should in theory do another 13 laps towards the end, but they won't feel great.
No, that's true, and it's difficult to say because we haven't really had that much wet races this season in MRC. A lot of it's been dry as Saviour's having a little look on Chris, who's caught the back of G-Star. Saviour's forced to run wide a little bit. Micromash having to look on the outside. That will come the inside, forcing Saviour the long way round. Gets the position. So that's Micromash up to P5 now, but Saviour gonna have the tight inside line, trying to hug it and keep it tight, but then Micromash will have the inside for the next corner. Saviour still trying to hold it. He's still there. Micromash trying to give him racing room. There's a little bit of contact between the two of them. You're always going to make a little bit of contact in these conditions, trying to give each other room. But that's allowed Chris to break away a little bit, and now he's going to be able to put G-Star under pressure. And he is going to have a look at it to turn 1, but not quite. G-Star holds it. Chris is going to keep it nice and clean through 3 and keeps it very close to the back of G-Star. Probably line up and move into turn 4. G-Star defending the inside and defends well. I think there was a tiny little touch between two of them, but it's okay. We have a yellow flag, but it was soon cleared. Very close between these four as Saviour and Micromash have now brought themselves back into play again. G-Star not looking to enjoy these conditions because he's currently 6.8 seconds off of Jules at the moment, nearly 7 seconds. So G-Star not looking comfortable in these wet conditions, unlike Chris, Saviour and Micromash behind him. As we have a yellow flag again for Williams. I think it was Peninza. We'll see what Chris can do down towards turn 1. It goes to the outside, but G-Star automatically covers him off. But Saviour's there on the inside of turn 1. He's going to have a look at Chris, and he does. He makes the move on the inside of turn 1. Bold move from Saviour, getting ahead of Chris, and now he's going to have a look at G-Star, and he does. That Saviour's took 2 positions in 2 corners. That Saviour up into P3.
Oh, very, very wide. I think Micromash was in the background as well.
G-Star a bit wide out of 5. But Saviour making plenty of ground just then, getting past both Chris and G-Star. Chris into 1, G-Star into turn 4. So he's going to look to now put the pedal to the floor and close that gap to Jules, which is currently sat at 7.6 seconds. The Ferrari just ahead getting blue flags. But now Chris will be having a look at G-Star again. Down towards turn 1. I think G-Star's had a bit of a squirrely moment because Chris is going round the outside. G-Star's still there. And I think Chris is going to get it. No, G-Star still alongside. And keeps the inside into 1. So Chris still stuck behind the Mercedes of G-Star. G-Star defending very, very well against Chris. And Micromash, who's stuck behind as well. But these three battling hard as Micromash having a look on the inside of 4 on Chris. Chris having a bit of a moment on exit. Still side by side through 5.
I'm just looking at the... sorry to interrupt because this is incredible, but I'm just looking at the tyre wear. There's only 1 lap difference between most of them, so...
Chris 3 seconds. That's going to play a factor towards the end of this race as Micromash has moved up into P5 now. But as you were saying, Mark...
Yeah, just the tyres, I think they're all level, and this is the point where the mediums start... the inters start to go off, and once in these conditions the inters go, there is just zero grip, there's no turning, the understeer is ridiculous, and everybody drifting on any part of the power.
Yeah, G-Star, Micromash and Chris having a bit of a moment.
Yeah. Is it better to bail now? Yes, drop a lot of places, but have the grip that everyone's going to be losing.
I would not be able to say, but I would be probably one of those that will probably prefer the grip and the confidence, because the one thing you do need in these conditions is a lot of confidence.
Exactly. I think you're right with that one. I think that's it. You need to have it. Just holding on and holding on is just... it's one of those that it will suddenly just go. Completely go.
When you're in a tight battle like G-Star, Micromash and Chris are at the moment, it's... You don't really know what to do, but somebody like Ant, who's comfortably out in front with 2.5 seconds, is Micromash looking on the inside of G-Star, as I'm saying, but now has the outside, so Micromash trying to move up to P4.
Oh, wheels locked.
That's looking close.
Micromash. There's a lot of carbon fibre flying.
Yeah, Chris is going to swoop through on the inside of Micromash.
Wow.
But as I was saying, somebody like Ant that's out front in clean air, he can manage those intermediate tyres where people battling like Chris, G-Star and Micromash, they really can't because they're too busy fighting each other for position. But if you're in clean air on your own, you can really manage the intermediate tyres a lot better. As I think that was a moment for both G-Star and Micromash. B17's out, that's in the pit lane.
Yep, saw that. It's just allowed Xavier to completely scamper away from all of these guys. So
Quimo 3 seconds. Yeah, he's got that gap to Chris to 4.8 seconds because of these three scrapping away lap after lap. He's not made much headway on Jules. That's currently at 6.3. And Ant controlling, still around the 2 second mark. Ant looking very comfortable, and he's more than likely managing those intermediate tyres so he can try and take it to the end. As Micromash fighting to put the power down, the car is sliding on exit all over the place, fighting for grip. Which comes back to what you were saying earlier, Mark, is do you pit and take the fresh inters and lose time and possibly track position to then have the grip and the confidence to probably try and make that time back up? As I think Chris has had a moment as well, so Micromash swoops through on the inside of turn 3 up into P4. So even Chris struggling for grip at this stage by the looks of it.
And I almost think are getting past that window where the pit stop would have been the best option. Is it now just sort of hold on now? And we've seen Evervoice and Redcard, they're on the wet tyres, so I'm going to keep an eye on them. They pitted a couple of laps ago, Evervoice the fresher, so I'm going to keep my eye on him. Soze's pitted now as well.
Yeah, keep an eye on those, Mark, as we focus on the scrappers. Micromash again, the back end, and so's Chris. They're constantly fighting the back end of their cars. I think they've took too much out the tyres, scrapping so hard for position.
Yeah, but now you've got to that point. I said about half race distance is where the tyres go, and they have, well, not quite, but Case has put on a new set of inters, so that's going to be interesting to see if it is still into weather, because they've got that dry line still on the track. You'd think that it is. It's when you start going offline is when it's going to really hurt.
Yeah, you got to try and keep it within that dry line as much as you can, and possibly just go onto the wet stuff just to cool the tyres down a little bit on the straights, but then making sure you keep within the dry line through the corners to help with that traction. But we are on lap 30, 6 laps plus the final lap to go, so I think it's just hold on the best you can at this stage, because it's getting too close to the end now with so few laps left.
Yeah,
This G-Star's got 3 seconds.
I think now, if you're holding on, this is where, because the grip is just not going to be there, this is where the risk of a lock-up and going straight on and not... you're not going to get the turn, you're not going to get the traction, and you can easily lose the rear even more now. The risk is a lot higher than it was even 5 laps ago, so I think now that's the hard part now for them all. I think that's...
No, it's getting close between Chris. Yeah, looking very close between the two of them.
It is, and I think this is now where it's risk over reward. And like you say, I think they're getting beyond the point of pitting, but the risk now of a spin, of losing the rear under traction, of not being able to turn the car. The
rain's looking very heavy as well at this stage as well. And is it me, or is that dry line faded a little bit?
A little bit. A little, I don't think it's too bad. I think it's going to be consistent at this moment, and still just managing the gap. See if he's closing another second up ahead. But there's a nice little battle with Bobo, Loppy, Armour as well. Hornets closed that gap a little bit.
Oh, as Bobo, we just jumped that. Bobo's got a bit sideways out of 2, which has allowed Loppy and Armour to sweep through 3 on the inside. Very well collected by Bobo, so he can keep going. As we all know, wet conditions could be a definite race changer, because you could have people with all the confidence in the world in dry conditions, but as soon as it decides to rain and the conditions change, they just seem to lose confidence. So it really mixes things up, because those people that are more controlled, consistent and patient tend to do a lot better in these conditions. And as we know, Ant's very good at all those things, patience, control and everything, which is why he's been able to control that gap out front.
Yeah, and I think at the minute he's it rewards smooth driving, and that's exactly what he's doing at this moment in time. The smoothness that he has, it's working absolute treat for him at the minute.
As we just jump into Micromash and Chris, Chris got a bit on the grass, trying to hold it round the outside of Micromash. He had nothing else but to back out. One thing you don't want to do is get on the grass on the wet conditions, or even on the white lines as well, the painted white lines.
Yeah, they can be really slippy under braking, and as soon as you hit the brakes and begin to turn, that's where it can really hamper and hurt you right there. Ryan, for the fun of it, I think has just put a set of soft tyres on. Not sure why. But
he's probably just having a bit of fun out there, as he's got 10 seconds for having to cut a corner to let the likes of Micromash and Chris through. We can definitely say Red Car is just out there having fun now. But it's far from fun for everybody else, as Micromash is able to pull away from Chris a little bit after Chris got on the grass. Gives Micromash a bit of breathing space. We'll jump back to the Armour and Lorpy scrap. This is for the win in Tier 2. Lorpy ahead of Armour. Currently Tier 3 being led by Smith. So at this very moment, Smith will extend his lead in the championship, especially with Saviour picking up what will be 3rd place in Tier 1. And I think Lorpy will leapfrog Saviour as well with being 1st in Tier 2. So 25 points currently heading Lorpy and Smith's way. So Saviour's going to be dropping possibly to 3rd at the moment with being 3rd in Tier 1. Bobo picks up 3 seconds. And the track limits do come into play a little bit more in the wet conditions, especially if you miss a break point ever so slightly, and even with the tyre wear as well. Going back to that again, the car was it oversteering or not wanting to give the turning, as you were saying? So the track limits on the exiter corners will definitely play into factor a little bit more.
Yeah, they do. This is now just everything. It is now just a hold on, isn't it? It's a fight for survival at this moment in time. This could come back from Baby Hornet after his spin. He's got 6 seconds of penalties though, but 8 seconds to Bobo, who's got 3, so he's safe at this moment in time for 9th. Everybody who's got a penalty is sort of safe. Red car's
gone. He's in the pits.
Yeah. Oh, Bobo's pitted late and got a penalty. Got another 10 seconds. He's retired in the pits.
Retired in the pits as well. Yes. The only fight that's really been going lap after lap after lap is the fight for 1st and 2nd in Tier 2 with Lorpy and Armour, which we have on screen at the moment. They've been a very close couple throughout this race. Hardly been able to separate, get away from each other. It's still in the favour of Lorpy at the moment, who's holding off Armara's C8's gone as well. That's in the pits as well. So he's called it a night with 2 laps to go. As Lorpy's able to break away a little bit from Armar, but we're going to jump to race leader and give him a bit of airtime as he's coming through the middle part of the lap, because he's been out controlling, but Jules has brought that gap down to 1.3, and Ant looks to be fighting for grip at this stage himself.
Yeah, I think he just maybe went a bit too hard too early.
Jules carrying those penalties, so that's going to play into Ant's favour as they come on to the final lap. So we'll stay with Ant as he starts lap 36 or 36. Jules 1.5 behind. All Ant's got to do is pretty much what he's been doing most of this wet part of the race, is just control the pace and manage his tyres, especially with this 1 lap to go. And I think when you get to this last lap, even if you're in a fight, I think you'd rather just try and make sure you get to the end, because rule 1 in racing, first you have to finish. You can't win a race unless you finish.
Absolutely, exactly that. A lot of gaps formed now. There are some big gaps, but I think that's just down to different pit stops.
Yeah, people have decided to go for an extra pit stop for the fresher inters, or even give the wet tyres a go, or if you're Red Car's case, having a bit of fun on dry tyres on a wet track. But Ant comes into the final sector for the last time. Gingerly through the corners, making sure those tyres are all right, and he'll be flooring it up the hill to come back down and then back up again. The roller coaster that is Sao Paulo, Interlagos, Brazil. Ant wins on track and in Tier 1 here at Interlagos. Jules will come second, and he'll keep second on track. Saviour 4 tenths off in the end will come home in third. Micromash comes P4 from 20th. That is a phenomenal drive. Chris will be in P5 and he'll hold on to P5 as well, with G-Star being 9 seconds back. But it's still anyone's game, as Lorpe is still holding off Armar even on this final lap. These two have been pretty much on a tow rope all race, as Lorpe will come across the line in P7, but he'll take the win in Tier 2 with Armar in close proximity. Baby Hornet comes home in P9. Soze coming through the final corners. He'll be coming to round out the top 10. That's if Rassam is... I think Rassam might get the final top 10 place.
No, Lewis was in the chat to see it and said he underfueled massively, and he ran out completely.
That's it. Rassam does
damage, I think, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Rassam does take the final point for 10 Micromash driver of the day. I am not going to argue with that one. I'm going to agree with the game.
I know, yeah, absolutely.
Especially dry, wet race, P20 to P4, phenomenal performance, and well-deserved winner. Pitt at the right time, had plenty of space. He was in clean air for the entirety of that wet period, was able to control the pace, manage the tyres, so he didn't have to make that extra stop. He did, and he wins on track and Tier 1. That is full 25 points for, and the other two to get the full 25 points was Lorpe for Tier 2 and Smith for Tier 3. So, but this is provisional, barring stewards. We'll run through the order if I get it on screen. And I don't think I am, because the game's not playing ball.
Oh, typical. So I'll run through the order very quickly. I've got Ant in the lead, then I've got Jules and Saviour in the podium. Micromash, then Chris, Bailey, G-Star, Loppy, Armored, Baby Hornet and Rassam for the top 10. Then I've got Kaiser Soze, Emma Voice, Smith, Quimo, Panizza, Bobo, C8, Red Carp, E17 and Scottish Ninja, just as the time runs out.
Was that all of it you managed to fit in?
Just about, absolutely.
Good job, mate. But yeah, that rounds off our 5th race of the week in Interlagos, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Friday, we head to the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, for the highest speeds around any street track we have on the calendar. That will be at 7:30 on Friday for X. The format is a reverse championship, 100%, so it's going to be a very good one, especially with the mixed up grid with the reverse championship. I believe the comms for that one is Baby Hornet and myself, so you'll have to put up with me again, sadly. Then Monday we'll be racing in Vegas, Tier 2 at 7, Tier 1 at 9:15. And then Wednesday we do it all again in Vegas. Everybody gets to go gambling for a week, with Tier 3 at 7 o'clock and X-Treme back again at 9:15. Thank you very much for being alongside me for this one, Mark, when you managed to get in.
I know, yeah, no problem. Glad I could join and help a little bit. It's been a good race, a lot of good racing out there, and difficult, very, very difficult and treacherous conditions for the drivers. So, yeah, congratulations to those of them who finished up there and managed to keep it clean as well.
So, yeah, that is it from MRC until Friday. If you've been watching or you're watching this back, like, subscribe, hit that bell to be notified when we go live and racing, and we'll see you on Friday at 7:30 for the reverse grid 100% race around Las Vegas. Good night.
Good night.